Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and we got a lot to talk about on today's live show, and I'm fired up to discuss it with all of you guys here in the building. A lot of draft talk coming up, and I do want to talk about the Vikings roster as a whole and give you guys an outlook for this upcoming season. But I will say, I have not been this excited for an NFL draft here in a very, very long time. And if you guys are fired up for the 2026 NFL draft, hit me with those skulls down below in the live chat. We'll give you guys some shout-outs here. Still, the live chat is auto-correcting skull to school on my side of things. So we're getting a bunch of schools in the building. We got to be able to change that somehow. But shout out to Capers Off in the building. Ben in the house, a Lego fellow hanging out with us. Joseph, JFR, what's going on? Drew's in the building as well. Kev Man saying Dillon Thieneman at pick 18, baby. As I put the live poll, because I was curious to see which safety Vikings fans prefer, and it's about 62% for Dillon Thieneman over Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. I'm leaning more McNeil-Warren just in terms of his fit with Brian Flores, but you can't really go wrong with either of those two guys. I think they both deserve to be drafted in the first round. And, the Vikings are in a really good spot right here where you're heading into the NFL draft, and they can't approach us with a BPA mindset. And not a lot of teams can do that. I think it's a huge advantage when it comes to drafting where you just pull up your draft board and you can just go whoever the best player available is, we can take them. So I like where the Vikes are at right now, but I'm very, very excited. Drew's in the building. What's going on? Thieneman to lead the Vikings to the playoffs. Thieneman's going to be the guy that gets us back there. I love it. Uncle Paul saying, SKOL, what's up, Pat? What's going on, Uncle Paul? How you doing? The Cinnamon is getting any stream because he's at Oregon. I'm not sure what you're talking about there, Drew Wallen, but shout out to you. Benji in the building. What's going on? Jay Ray in the house as well. Appreciate you for tuning in. Connor Vikings in the building. Drew said, Thieneman, not Cinnamon. Thieneman, Cinnamon. I wonder how many times we'll mess that up. But yeah, appreciate you for tuning in. Lee Hefner in the building saying SKOL. Same with Circus Brothers in the house as well. Now the live poll's at 57% for Thieneman, 43% for Emmanuel McNeil-Warren as Lego Fellow going Dillon Cinnamon. I love that. GS in the building saying, sup, Patrick? What's going on, Brody? Appreciate you for tuning in. But coming up on today's show, we got a lot to discuss. So I do want to just give a Vikings roster outlook and talk about what the Vikings plan has been and why it's starting to come together and why this draft is absolutely massive for this Minnesota Vikings team. As JFR also saying, yeah, Vikings legend Stephon Gilmore did retire. Stephon Gilmore, that 2024 season he had with the Vikings, again, the Vikings didn't have a lot of good corners that year. He was, de facto CB1 for the team. I thought he was good. Stephon Gilmore at that point in his NFL career when he was with the Vikes, he was really good against middle of the pack, wide receiver 2s, wide receiver 3s. He could still lock those guys down. Did end up getting torched by some CB1s later on in the year, but Gilmore was great for this team. Had a good relationship with Flores. So shout out to Stephon Gilmore. Wishing him nothing but the best here in retirement. And then, yeah, Kirk Cousins signed with the Las Vegas Raiders today, and Kirk Cousins and his agent should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. The money he gets, Kirk Cousins, now the deal, it comes out as 5 years, $187 million. It's necessarily just a 1 year, $20 million deal. Hey, Cousins' agent, he gets him paid yet again. So yeah, we'll discuss it all, and then we also want to dive into the 3-round ESPN mock draft here coming up, but also a mailbag as well here in about 40 minutes or so. So use hashtag Vikings. Get your questions in there. We got a new producer on the 1s and 2s. Dylan's not with us today. We got my guy Mike riding shotgun with us. If you guys want to help him out, hashtag Vikings. We'll pull your question to our software. If you guys want to talk about the draft, free agency, whatever it may be, get those questions in there. I'll greatly appreciate it. And then if you guys are ready to rock and roll, go down there, hit that thumbs up icon for us, and we can talk about the Vikings roster outlook here. Just hit that thumbs up icon and give me those skulls down below. But I say we just dive on into it. Let's do it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, we're going to dive into the Vikings roster and discuss why the Vikings master plan is coming together for the 2026 NFL season. The Vikings had a quieter offseason compared to past years, but the moves they made on the margins adding Kyler Murray, they've really set themselves up here in the NFL draft to be in a really good spot to just flat out draft the best player available. So we'll talk about the Vikings plan coming up here in just a second. But if you guys could hit that thumbs up icon for us. If you guys want the Minnesota Vikings to win the NFC North, just go down there, hit that thumbs up icon. Last time they won the North was 2022 when they lost to the New York Giants in that wild card game. I'll never forget the 3rd-and-1 play call by Kevin O'Connell, where it was a throwback pass to Kirk Cousins, one of his worst play calls of his career, and then obviously Kirk Cousins checking it down on 4th and 8. But hey, if you guys want the Vikings to win the NFC North again, go down there, hit that thumbs up icon. All right, so the Vikings offseason plan. So I think they had 5 goals in mind when they were approaching this offseason. And I think number one, what they wanted to do more than anything was to add talent to the quarterback room. Now, I was on the Kyler Murray camp back in January. Like, I thought this could be a guy that could potentially get cut by the Cardinals. Ended up being the case, and he ended up signing with the Minnesota Vikings for a 1-year, $1.3 million deal, which is an absolute steal, and he will be the new QB1 in Minnesota. It will be a quarterback battle between him and J.J. McCarthy, but we all assume that Kyler Murray will end up beating him out for this quarterback battle here. And I think the Vikings are in a spot with their quarterback team, or with their quarterback depth chart right now, where they have allowed themselves that no matter what, every single game, they will have a serviceable starter available for them. Like if Kyler gets hurt, all right, you go to J.J. McCarthy or Carson Wentz. If 2 of those guys get hurt, you still have Carson Wentz there who knows the system. And I think that Carson Wentz signing, it was not about J.J. McCarthy. It was to allow the Minnesota Vikings to be in a spot that no matter what happens, due to injuries or whatever it may be, they have a serviceable quarterback that can go in there and run this offense at that baseline level that Kevin O'Connell and Rob Brzezinski have been talking about this entire offseason. Now, I think personally, the best individual signing out of any NFL team was the Vikings signing Kyler Murray for a 1-year, $1.3 million deal. I think Kyler Murray is a top 20-ish quarterback in the NFL right now, and I think he's got the potential next season with the infrastructure the Vikings have to be a top 12-ish quarterback. If you get top 12 quarterback play out of Kyler Murray, not only is this deal an absolute bargain for Minnesota, but you're also probably going to be a legit contender in the NFC. So let's talk about Kyler Murray here. I think if I had to play devil's advocate with myself, the number one concern around Kyler Murray is his injury history. Tore his ACL in the 2022 season, forced him to miss some games in 2023. 2025 had a mid-foot sprain, ended up only playing 5 of 17 games, ended up getting soft bench for Jacoby Brissett, but even 2021 had a grade 2 ankle sprain, missed multiple games, so he has been banged up 4 out of the last 5 seasons. But why I am so high on Kyler is because of the almost pedigree he brings to the quarterback room. This guy wasn't just a great, football player. Like, he was a great baseball player. He's just an overall great athlete. And I'll never forget when the Call of Duty clause was put in Kyler's contract, and it was the first time really ever we have seen Kyler kind of talk his shit a little bit, talk some smack to the media. And he was saying that, like, hey, you guys think I don't work hard? And I'm a 5'9", 5'10" quarterback. Like, you don't think I work hard? Like, how could I go win Heisman? How could I go be a top 10 pick in 2 major league sports drafts? Like, that's absolutely ridiculous. The first athlete ever to be a top 10 pick in an MLB draft and an NFL draft. He was offensive rookie year, 2-time Pro Bowler, Heisman Trophy winner, first team All-American. Like, there is pedigree with Kyler Murray. And also, people always like to say, well, Kyler wasn't that successful in Arizona. I hear you. But the Arizona Cardinals, I don't think they get enough kind of hate and negativity around them being a terrible organization. Their record since 2023, without Kyler Murray, so all the games that Kyler does not start, they are 2-19. This is one of the worst organizations in the NFL. I think like the Giants, the Jets, the Browns, like they get all the headlines of being a disaster. Like, you should give more attention to Arizona. And Kyler, like, this record 13-17, you're still 4 games below 500. I think that's impressive that he did that in Arizona with not a lot around him. He had some good weapons here and there. He had D-Hop. That was before 2023, but like Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison, he had some good weapons. Never a great offensive line, but he was still able to win games at almost a 500 level. And then without him, 2-19. So I love the Kyler Murray sign. If you guys want to show Kyler some love, hit me at those K1s down below in the comments section. Cannot wait to see how KOC adjusts his offense for Kyler Murray. So if you guys want to show him some love, give me those K1s down below. Now, I think the second plan for the Vikings this offseason, they had a lot of bad contracts, and they had a lot of old and bad players. And what did they decide to do? They said, we're going to move off a lot of bad and old players. Now, the guys that the Vikings lost this offseason, not including guys like Jalen Nailor, Ryan Wright, and Ty Chandler in this, Jalen Nailor, I think losing him definitely hurt a little bit. Like, Nailor was a fantastic wide receiver 3. I think he's got wide receiver 2 potential in the National Football League. But really, moving off Javon Hargrave and Jonathan Allen. Now, since the clauses in Jonathan Allen's contract, the Vikings, they cut him, had $17 million in dead cap. They don't have that anymore. Because of this contract he signed with the Cincinnati Bengals, Javon Hargrave goes and joins the division rival, the Green Bay Packers. And both these guys, it's funny when the and other media members talk about the Vikings, they always say, well, how is that defense going to be able to maintain, their consistency that they've had this past season without Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave? These guys didn't even play the second half of the year. They're playing about 30% of the snaps, and for right reason. Like guys like Jalen Redmond, Levi Drake Rodriguez lapped both those veterans. So they want to move off those contracts. They did that. Now, I thought they were going to move off TJ Hockenson as well, restructured his contract, got him back on a one-year deal. Lost Ryan Wright. That was all right. They ended up getting Johnny Hekker, one of the better punters over the last 15 years in the National Football League. So their losses, big names on here, but I don't think they lost really anything of value besides Jalen Nailor heading to the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, their third goal this offseason, got to make smart value signings. Because the Vikings were in a tough spot against the cap here. Like, they didn't have a lot of money to spend. They need to make a bunch of moves on the margin to get this roster better, and no better move that they made was James Pierre, the cornerback that they brought into the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I will pat myself on the back here. This was the one move that I expected from the Vikings because of the connection he had with Gerald Alexander, had a connection with Brian Flores, so he's going to be caught up to speed more than another cornerback that they could have brought in. But getting him on a 2-year, $8.5 million deal, that was a steal. He is one of the better cover corners in the National Football League. This guy, when targeted this past season, thrown at 33 times, only allowed 14 completions in 14 games, only allowed 1 touchdown, had a ridiculous one-handed interception off who? Lamar Jackson, 11 PBUs, a quarterback rating allowed of 52.8. That signing, A+. Another signing that I liked, Ryan Van Damark, 1 year, $4.27 million deal. The Bills gave him an offer sheet, or they made him restricted free agent. The Vikings signed him. Bills didn't want to match that offer sheet. I'm a little shocked that they didn't. Now, the Bills obviously strapped for cap as well with the Minnesota Vikings, but they're getting a high-end swing tackle with Van here. Like, graded out very well according to PFF this past season. Overall grade, 74.4, 25th in the league. Pass block, not as good as his run blocking, but still serviceable. Run block, 74.9. That was 22nd in the league. And as a swing tackle, had to step in for 312 snaps, playing some tackle, playing some guard as well. So he's got some versatility across the offensive line. Pretty good signing there from the Minnesota Vikings. Then another signing I loved, how about Johnny Hekker? Also, my favorite part about this, the Vikings signed their punter to a bigger deal than what they signed Kyler Murray to. Kyler on the vet min, Hekker getting a little more than that, 1 year, $1.48 million. Losing Ryan Wright, hit a good year this past season. But Ryan Wright was also one of those guys from the Minnesota Vikings that 2024 wasn't good, 2023 wasn't good. This past year a lot better, but you're getting Johnny Hekker, one of the better punters, and also an elite holder. So I'm assuming the connection that Ryan Wright had with Will Reichard on field goals will still be there with Johnny Hekker. So love all three of these signings. Again, not a lot of big-time money. Like, this is all the external free agents the Vikings brought in this past offseason. Love all these. James Pierre A+, Van Demark A+, and Johnny Hekker A+. So I like those moves as well. And then also the Vikings, I think they made it clear that they have core players on both sides of the football that they want to build around. Like, they decided, we're not going to move off Jonathan Gennard. Now, they still very well could, but I don't think it's going to happen. Same can be said about Jordan Addison. Now, I think the Vikings' offensive core and why they're set up for success long-term is because you got 3 players who are all very young in the prime of their NFL careers and a head coach who is still very young and getting better every single season in Kevin O'Connell. So if you have your bookend left tackle for the future, you have a top 5 wide receiver duo for the future in Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson. Like, that should be fantastic stuff for the Minnesota Vikings, where you feel like if you're Minnesota, you can go throw in anybody at quarterback. Like, that's where also Kevin O'Connell, when he was kind of talking his smack the other day, saying like, hey, when we had Kirk Cousins, what did we do? We won 13 games. When we had Sam Darnold, what did we do? We won 14 games. And I guess he is assuming the same thing for Kyler Murray stepping into the system next season. But you got a great offensive core. And then defensively, like, the core you have is necessarily Brian Flores, but you also got some guys that are key. Now, I probably should have included Josh Metellus on this list, as Metellus still one of the more versatile players and key pieces of this defense. But you got Andrew Van Ginkel, most important player defensively. Dallas Turner, hopefully he continues his breakout. Jalen Redmond, his breakout happened last season. He's only going to get better. Still one of the – it's crazy how he was in the XFL, and this guy's going to probably be a perennial all-pro for the next couple of seasons. You still got Jonathan Grenard, a top 15 edge rusher. I think you got one of the best edge rusher trios in the NFL, and it's led by the best defensive coordinator in the NFL in Brian Flores. Like, you got your core offensively, you got your core defensively that you're building around, and it gets me to my last point. The Vikings have set themselves up where now you're hitting the NFL draft where you can go BPA. And there's no bigger advantage than heading into the NFL draft to allow yourself to do just that. And every team likes to talk about, oh, we're just going to go BPA. Like, every GM says that. But the Vikings have really, yet again, put themselves in a spot to draft BPA this year. That's why I've talked about if one of those three wide receivers are on the board, Jordan Tyson, Mekhi Lemon, Carnell Tate, if they're available, I could see the Vikings drafting one of those guys. If you want to go a safety in round one with Thieneman or McNeil Warren, they can head in that direction as well. If you want to even go defensive tackle, if you want to go corner, like the Vikings, I have no idea what position group they're going to draft in round one. We're all assuming it's going to be safety. But if it's not, it wouldn't shock me. Like, again, I would not be shocked if they take a wide receiver. I would not be shocked if they trade up for Jeremiah Love. Anything and everything should be on the table, or even them possibly trading up for a guy like Caleb Downs. So I love the way they've set themselves up this offseason. Put yourself in a good spot for the NFL draft. And I think there's going to be a lot of success in Minnesota this next upcoming season. I mean, you won 9 games last year with probably the second worst quarterback play in the league, the third worst QBR in the NFL. I think they're probably going to win double-digit games for the third time in Kevin O'Connell's tenure. But you guys chime in for me. Over-under. 9.5 wins for the Minnesota Vikings. I'm going to be taking the over here. DraftKings has their line set at 8.5, but I'll definitely take the over on that. And I think it's going to be more than 9.5 as well. So you guys chime in for me. Let me know your thoughts down below. We'll get on out of here. As always, let's go Vikes. Alrighty, what's going on, everybody? Got around 100 people rocking and rolling with us here on this Thursday. Shout out to all of you guys for tuning in today. Lego fellow in the building. Lee Hefner saying he's going over. Amanda. Also, I do want to say thank you to all the real ones. We did cross over 71,000 subs a couple days ago, which is pretty unreal. Yeah, it looks good. Pretty unreal that we got to that milestone here. I never thought we would be at 71,000, but my goal, end of next football season, I want to hit 6 digits. I want to get up to 100K. I think we got a good chance to. So seriously, thank you guys so much. I know we ask you guys to subscribe a lot, but it helps us grow this channel, helps us grow this company. Like here at Chat Sports, for example, I was the 14th or 15th person hired. We're going to be up over 50 here very, very shortly, and it's all credit to you guys. Took over this channel when we had 2,000 subscribers. A couple years later, we're at 71. So it's pretty awesome. All the credit goes out to you guys. But again, we'll have a mailbag coming up here in about 20 minutes. So if you guys got a question for me, hashtag Vikings or super chat to get up on the show. You want to guarantee your spot on the mailbag, send a super chat. Or if you guys want to test your luck, use hashtag Vikings down below. Going to need some more questions in there. So if you guys could help us out, get those questions in there down below. Just use hashtag Vikings to get your question up on screen. Whatever you guys want to talk about, we'll break it down here in full. Kevin Mann saying over 100K. If we're over 100K, that'll be sweet. Appreciate you getting a question in there, Amanda and Ghost. Shout out to you guys. Drew Wallian saying, oh, way over. Drew's got the Vikes winning 12, 13 games next season. That would be awesome. Can't have a year like we had last year. Like, even though the Vikings were 9-8, looks really really good when you're looking at the record, but they were 4-8. Like, this team ended it on a 5-game winning streak. You played some teams that are still vying for the playoffs. Like, you knocked the Cowboys out, you knocked the Lions out. But again, you played the Commanders, you played the Packers backups, you played the pitiful Giants. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Seth, appreciate you, Brody, for getting a question in there. YT Jade saying SKOL, we winning with Kyler. Becky in the building. Richard, good question. If you want to add hashtag Vikings to that, we'll get that up on the show. Amanda, I appreciate you. Thoughts on the tight end from Oregon? I really like him. If the Vikings didn't bring back TJ Hawkinson, he would probably be in my top 3 of draft prospects I would want the Vikings to potentially draft. That being Kenyon Sadiq. Kind of reminds me of Vernon Davis if he ends up working out. I think that's his ceiling player comp in the NFL. Freak athlete. I mean, the guy ran a 4.39. The only thing is, he didn't have a completion over 30 yards, and he ran a 4.39 40. So don't love that. This was Zazy saying over. Always drink the purple Kool-Aid. You know what? People get on me for drinking the purple Kool-Aid too much. I don't care. I'd rather be optimistic than not. So we'll stick with that. But with Zazy, appreciate you. But again, get those questions in there. Super chat to get up on the show. Need more questions. So if you guys could help us out, hashtag Vikings, drop them in the live chat, whatever you guys want to talk about. And let's dive into this ESPN 3-round mock they had for the Minnesota Vikings. Some interesting choices. So you want to dive into it. But if you guys could, again, hashtag Vikings, get those questions in there. Lego fellow, get a couple questions in there. I'd appreciate it. Same with you with Zazy. But let's dive into it. ESPN's 3-round mock for the Minnesota Vikings. We're going to be taking a look at ESPN's 3-round mock draft for the 2026 NFL Draft on today's show. Vikings have 4 picks in the top 100 here, which is a whole lot better than having just 4 picks total last draft. So now we got 4 in the top 100. It's a massive draft for the Minnesota Vikings. So we'll be diving into it on today's edition of Vikings Now by Chat Sports. But if you guys could help us out, our bosses on today's show challenge us to get 750 comments, which is a whole lot. So if you guys could just spam those skulls down below. I'll actually say this. Whoever comments SKOL the most on today's video, we'll give you guys a shout out on a future show. So if you guys could spam those skulls in the comments section. Now a shocker here. A mock draft pick for the Vikings that we have never seen. Dillon Thieneman. Who would have thought that ESPN posted a mock draft with the Vikes drafted Dillon Thieneman at pick number 18? Every single mock draft has the Vikes taking Thieneman. I don't know if it's because you had Harrison Smith, a white safety, so you're like, oh, we're going to have the Vikings drafting the next great white safety in the NFL. I don't know what it is, but it is crazy. You go look at any mock draft, they all have the Vikes taking Thieneman, but Matt Miller was making the selection for the Vikings, and this is what Matt Miller of ESPN had to say, and he said, this might be the second most predicted pick in mock drafts behind Mendoza to the Raiders. Thieneman can be a smooth-moving replacement for longtime Viking safety Harrison Smith. And I have noticed something over the last couple of weeks, and maybe I'm just looking too much at the comment section and looking at Vikings fans on Twitter, but a lot of Vikings fans are starting to cool on Dillon Thieneman, and I just don't really understand why. I think this has a lot to do with, every time Vikings fans look up a mock draft, like I was saying, and they go and see Dillon Thieneman mocked to the Vikes at 18 for every single selection. I'm guessing that's probably why Vikings fans are starting to cool on him, but I don't understand why. If you just look on the field, his physical profile, he deserves to be a first-round pick, and if he's available on the board at pick 18, I would assume the Vikings would be selecting the Oregon safety. But there are 3 safeties that will most likely go in the first round. Number 1, Caleb Downs. Caleb Downs, I think, is the best player in this year's draft. Caleb Downs, I think, is going to be a juiced-up version of Kyle Hamilton, and that is high praise, and I fully mean it. I think he is a better athlete than Kyle Hamilton. Was coming out of Notre Dame. Plays a very similar style to Kyle Hamilton. So if the Vikes can somehow get him, might have to trade up to pick 11, pick 12. Hopefully he drops. But that should be a trade on draft night that the Vikings try to do. And you also got Emmanuel McNeil-Warren there. Love McNeil-Warren. I think his fit with Flores would be great. And you also got Dillon Thieneman. And Dillon Thieneman, the past really 3 seasons of his college football career have been all great. Even as a true sophomore at Purdue, this guy was unbelievable. Or true freshman at Purdue, this guy was unbelievable. Had over 100 tackles. Purdue ran a lot of single high safety, so he was the last line of defense. And he was a better tackler, I think, at Purdue than he showed on tape at Oregon. So a lot of people are concerned about his run fit. I'm really not too concerned about that. There are a couple bad clips of him getting ran over. But, Thieneman, very versatile, can play slot, can play free safety, box safety, and there were some questions about how he would test athletically. He crushed it. had an RAS score of 9.71, a really good 40-yard dash, a ridiculous vertical leap. So, like, this guy clearly has some juice to him, and, it makes sense why he's the most mocked pick for the Vikings at pick 18. Guy's got a lot of juice, and he would be a good fit with Flores. But in round 2, pick number 49, ESPN had the Vikings going with a running back here. That being Notre Dame running back Jadarian Price. Now, I got Jadarian Price number 3 on my board out of all running backs. I think Jeremiah Love undisputed number 1. I would personally go Emmett Johnson, Nebraska running back, Minnesota native number 2. But number 3 for me would be Price. And you go turn on this guy's tape. He's not going to blow you away with his speed. He's not going to blow you away with his power. But this guy's got some serious game, and he just has defenders bouncing off him. Had some sweet kick returns also for Notre Dame this past season. Had a big one against USC in that rivalry game. But this guy is absolutely fantastic, man. He's got good hands. He's a good goal line back. He's good in blitz pickup as well. And Jadarian Price, I also love the name. Jadarian Price, that screams NFL running back to me. But, hey, the price is right. Those would be cool T-shirts to sell as well. But Jadarian Price has some juice to him. Now, personally for me, pick 49, top 50 pick for Jadarian Price. You better hope this guy is a legit, top 15-ish running back in the NFL. If you're taking a running back that high, you better hope that he ends up being a home run selection. But personally for me, I would rather take Emmett Johnson in round 3 and have the Vikings maybe go a corner with their 49th overall pick, because I still want the Vikings. The strength of this team, even though you have Jefferson, you got O'Connell, the strength of this football team is that defense led by Brian Flores. I would rather lean into the strengths a little bit. This is kind of a bad comparison, but the Eagles, when they picked up Saquon Barkley, they were the year before, they were a top 3 rushing team in the National Football League. They leaned into their strengths there, and they ended up getting Saquon. But, hey, if they end up taking Jadarian Price at pick 49, I would be kind of shocked by it, but definitely could be on the board. But, hey, if he is on the board, you guys be the GM for me. Would you draft Jadarian Price in round 2? Give me a D for draft. Give me a P for pass. You guys chime in. Let me know your thoughts down below. Curious to see what you guys have to say. I'm guessing it'll be about 50-50 here on this selection in round 2. Coming in at round 3, pick number 82. ESPN had the Vikings filling that center position, and that being Connor Lew, the Auburn center. Now, Connor Lew was banged up this past season. Didn't play the whole year for Auburn. This guy's a mauler in the run game. Very good in pass protection as well. Likes to get downhill. And, penalties have been an issue for Lew over the last couple of years, but I think if he gets with the right offensive line coach and Frank Smith now with the Vikes, I would have some interest in him. Now, the Vikes definitely need to dress center, so I would assume they're going to spend a top 100 pick on a center here, because what they have done, they have moved Blake Brandel to just being a full-time center. You still got Michael Juergens to be the backup, but look at the Vikings offensive line. It's better than most in the NFL on paper. You got Darisaw, O'Neal. You got your 2 bookend tackles. O'Neal getting up there in age, but he played some great football this past season. You spent $88 million on a guard last year in Wolf Fries. You spent a first-round pick on your other guard in Donovan Jackson. Donovan Jackson had a really good year, so you're good at left guard, left tackle, right guard, right tackle, but you need that center. Now, they are moving Brandel to center, and Brandel, first time in his NFL career this past season, playing at center in 363 snaps, but he's played all across the board. I don't think there is a offensive lineman in the league who has played 75-plus snaps at every single position on the offensive line. That's why if they do draft a center, and you got Van Demark as your swing tackle, you got Blake Brandel as your interior backup offensive lineman, even if the Vikings go through injuries, you should have 7 offensive linemen that you feel comfortable rolling out there every single week. Brandel would offer that to you. Really been impressed with this game and how he's developed. And, hey, for a 6th-round swing tackle, if you would have told Brandel, hey, 5 years later, you're going to be the potential starting center for any NFL team, I'm sure he would be a little shocked. But shout out to Brandel. Great versatility on the offensive line. Now, with the other pick, well, and 4.38, really good there. And I just think he could be somebody for the Vikings where if you want some juice over the top, I've always thought a speedy wide receiver next to Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson is how I would approach the wide receiver 3, because we've seen guys like Jalen Naylor be successful in that spot. But maybe they just believe in Ty Felton. Maybe they believe in DeAndre Hopkins more. He could be a potential free agent the Vikings sign, but we'll see what ends up happening. But you got those two guys, Jefferson and Addison. Then we'll see how they fill the wide receiver 3 spot. But I still, at some point in this NFL draft, I would expect the Vikings to draft a wide receiver at some 100. Maybe it's on day 3 of the draft, but at some point, the Vikings would most likely end up signing or drafting a wide receiver. So we'll see what happens. But hey, Stribling, watch out for him. He could be an enticing option here in the 3rd round for the Minnesota Vikings. But you guys let me know. Should the Vikings draft a wide receiver? Give me a D for draft. Give me a P for pass. You guys chime in down below. I think they should, unless they just believe in Ty Felton. I mean, he spent the 102nd pick on Ty last year, so we'll see where the Vikings go. Give me a D for draft, P for pass. Catch you guys next time. As always, SKOL Vikes. All right, Amanda in the building saying pass. Rocky in the house saying D for draft. We'll have a mailbag coming up here, so if you guys want to get a question in, hashtag Vikings. Going to need some more questions in the queue, so if you guys could ask a question down below, we'd greatly appreciate it. Drew Wallen, get a question in there. We'd appreciate that as well. I like Hecht. Hecht would be a solid option, too. Sorry about the Wi-Fi issues if you guys got cut out on that stream or during that video. Yeah, but hashtag Vikings, get those questions in there. We'll dive into a mailbag here soon. Appreciate you, Amanda, getting a question in there. Ought to go get Jalen Carter. Could definitely do that. Drew Wallen, appreciate you. Jeffrey in the building. Yeah, keep on getting those questions in there. We'll dive into a mailbag here. Appreciate you with Zazy. Alrighty. All right, if you guys are ready to rock and roll, we'll dive into a mailbag, talk about the latest with your Minnesota Vikings, and let's do it. It's mailbag time on today's edition of Vikings Out by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman. Appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Love doing these shows with just me and you guys chopping it up about the Minnesota Vikings for the next 8 to 12 minutes. A lot of fun. Always curious to see where these mailbags end up going. But shout out to all the real ones for tuning in. Again, these mailbags are a blast to do. It's going to be a ton of fun. I'm sure you guys got a lot of questions on how the Vikings can fill wide receiver 3, what's going on. But let's start off with the first question here from a great user and a great username, FaZe Kyler, in the building, saying, is there any update on the Vikings signing DeAndre Hopkins? So D-Hop's an interesting choice for wide receiver 3. First off, is there any update? We have not gotten any update on that. D-Hop was doing that flag football event with Fanatics, and when he was at the airport, he was asked, like, hey, would you have any interest in playing with Kyler Murray of the Vikings? And he says, Kyler's got my number. If they want me there, I'll go play there. So, D-Hop, he has made it clear if the Vikings want him, they can go get him. Now, D-Hop will probably end up signing like a 1-year, $4 million deal. I could see this being a move for the Vikes that maybe doesn't come until after the NFL draft. where maybe D-Hop, he waits and sees, like, hey, there's some teams out there. Because I think D-Hop from his side, like, one, he still wants to play. Two, he wants to probably play for a team that's going to win a lot of games, and he wants to play with a quarterback he likes. I think the Vikings check all three of those boxes. But I think this could be something from D-Hop's standpoint. He might wait till after the draft or go and look at, like, hey, all right, did this team take a wide receiver? Did this team take a wide receiver? Probably be the direction D-Hop goes. And if he's available, like, let's just say, in May, in June, like, that's when a signing could potentially happen for the Minnesota Vikings. But no real update. I'm sure Kyler and Diop are still chopping it up. They have a great relationship. So, we'll see how that ends up playing out. But Ransom coming in saying, if we don't go draft a wide receiver 3, would you trust Ty Felton? Yes and no. Like, I would trust Ty Felton because wide receiver 3 for the Vikings, one of the more easy wide receiver 3 positions to play in the NFL. Like, you're playing next to Jefferson, first off, who Jefferson, the attention he gets is ridiculous. KOC runs 3 wide receiver sets. I think it was 4th most in the NFL this past season. So, 3 wide receivers are out there on the field a lot. And if you don't draft one, like, I could see the Vikings kind of connecting it back to D-Hop, or maybe they go sign D-Hop. Ty Felton ends up being wide receiver 3 with DeAndre Hopkins. Maybe that's in the fold. But Ty Felton, I liked him coming out of the draft. And you got to also, like, more reason to believe in Ty and to trust him is, like, Keenan McCardell, the wide receiver coach for the Vikings, his track record of developing wide receivers is unbelievable. Like, obviously Jefferson and Addison, like, don't need too much development with those guys. They're polished coming out. But, like, what he did with Stephon Diggs, what he did with Adam Thielen, like, he has developed wide receivers at a very high level. And also Ty Felton, like, he gets to see the way Jefferson works every day. He gets to see the way Addison works every day. So, like, I believe, like, everybody's a product of their own environment. Ty Felton being around those wide receivers could be an interesting choice, but I would still fully expect the Vikes to draft a wide receiver 3, have him go in a little training camp battle with Ty Felton, which would be definitely fun to watch. Drew Wallen saying, why can't our organization pull off something to go get Achane or go get Love with all the capital and not a lot of needs? Interesting choice here. Like, first off with Achane's probably going to end up going for a first-round pick. So I don't know if the Vikings would be willing to offer a first-round pick for Achane, but, like, if you don't love anybody at pick 18, maybe end up trading it on draft night for Achane. I don't think that's likely. Now, in terms of Jeremiah Love, maybe the Vikings package Addison, pick 18, they move up to pick 7, move up to pick 4 with the Titans, and maybe that's a deal that could happen. But Jeremiah Love's going to go in the top 8. To move up that high in the draft, like, it would definitely take a lot of ammunition. So I think it's a little unlikely. But both these guys would probably say less than 1% chance that they're on the Minnesota Vikings this next season. But we'll see. Richard, what's going on? Hashtag Vikings. Do you think KOC can stick to pounding the rock? If we're going off track record, no. We would not have any faith in that. But you're assuming with the hire of Frank Smith that they are more committed to running the football. Frank Smith, coming from Miami, has had one of the better running games in the NFL over the last couple of years. I would want to say yes to this, but again, Kevin O'Connell, like, that's the one. Like, if he could ever get a consistent running game, he'll be one of the best offensive minds in the league. Like, that's where, like, McVay's been able to see around corners very, very well. Like, he was able to see the tight end trend in the NFL where, like, you have to run multiple tight ends to be successful offensively and running the football. Like, I wish KOC saw that earlier. But I don't know. We'll see if KOC stays more committed. I think it's definitely an interesting conversation. And then if he doesn't stay more committed to the run, especially with having a mobile quarterback, like we've seen Lamar Jackson, Ravens always have a good running game. Eagles with Jalen Hurts, they always have a good running game. And I think that has to do with their offensive line and the running backs, but also has to do with the dual threat ability of your quarterback. So I'm going to say this year I think he has to. Like, KOC also said, like, last year when they went on that 5-game winning streak, like, they definitely ended up just playing it differently. like find a new way to win games. So hopefully, yes. But you guys let me know. Curious to see what you guys have to say on this. As a kid, when you grew up watching the Minnesota Vikings, who is your favorite player? For me personally, it's Adrian Peterson, Harrison Smith. Cindy Rice was also there. I loved Cindy Rice back in 2009. But this would be fun to go back and look at the comments section. As a kid, who's your favorite player on the Minnesota Vikings? Vikings 1991 saying if you could choose any player on the Vikings to have a massive year, who would it be? Okay. Good question. I'll say Kyler Murray, but that's too obvious of an answer. I'm almost thinking like a guy like Donovan Jackson. Like if you get an all-pro year out of our left guard, that would be big. Any player on the Vikings have a massive year. Thinking like Jay Ward, maybe. This is a good question. Jay Ward would be up there. Like you get that safety that could fill in without drafting one. I'm going to go Byron Murphy Jr., though. If Byron Murphy Jr. can get back to that all-pro form, like that would be huge for this team. He's in the prime of his career. Like if he could just play like even like he did in 2024, I think that would be huge. But this is a great question. Even like Christian Darrisaw, I think would be a good answer to this. Like if you could just cement like Darrisaw gets back to being a top 5 left tackle in the league, I would like that as well. But good question. Ghost, what's going on? Do you think the Vikings will draft Dillon Thieneman and then trade for another lockdown corner? I mean, every mock draft has the Vikes taking Thieneman, so I think he's definitely on the table. Trading for a lockdown corner. One, to trade for a true lockdown corner, I mean, they're going for a first-round pick. We just saw Sauce Gardner last year. Like, Sauce still a top 5, top 7 corner in the league. He went for 2 firsts. Trent McDuffie went for a first and more. But he's a slot guy. Like, if you want to trade for that true lockdown outside corner, probably going to take a first-round pick and more. But I think they will draft Thieneman if he's on the board. I think they're probably good on the cornerback position because we've also seen with Flores, you don't really need that true traditional lockdown corner. I would love to see it, but I'm going to probably go no. With Zazy, what's going on? Saying honest opinion about Kyler Murray. Very excited, very optimistic. I think the biggest question I have is like how are Kyler Murray and Kevin O'Connell going to change their tendencies in the past to potentially, make this marriage work? Because on paper, like it kind of reminds me of Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson last year, where it's like Caleb Williams, great backyard football player, we knew that, and like Ben Johnson, like in the past, he has been more successful with the pocket passers, the like prototypical like Jared Goffs. So I'm curious about that, but like I believe in like the athlete Kyler is, and I've been pounding the table for the Vikings to sign him. They ended up doing it. Just very excited. I think that's really all I gotta say. Is like I'm just excited to see how it's gonna work. Like the Vikings will be a very fun team to watch in the NFL this upcoming year. Like if they're on prime time and you're an NFL fan, like the Vikes, like I'll tell you what, like they're gonna be a hell of a draw. With a guy like Kyler Murray. So, we'll wait and see what happens, but definitely excited. Amanda, what's going on? Will the Vikings be in the playoffs this season? I hope so, Amanda. I mean, if they don't make the playoffs, it probably means KOC probably won't be fired, but his seat will be extremely hot. And it depends how it goes. Like if KOC, if it's a carbon copy of 2025, he can't get his offense going, then I would assume Flores would be the front runner to be the head coach. But like let's just say they have a good year offensively, defense takes a step back, and like they're 9-8, 10-7, they get gypped out of the playoffs. Like KOC would probably keep his job, but I think the Vikes will be back in the playoffs next season. Now, if you guys made it to the end, appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Hit me with those skulls down below in the comment section, and we'll get on out of here. Appreciate all of you guys for watching. As always, Skol Vikes.